and welcome back. If you were waiting for my July plan with me at its regular time, I'm sorry, I'm still kind of struggling to adapt to this new schedule I have with my new job, and on top of it, I took a little trip at the end of June, so I was extra stressed out and I had even less time than I normally do. So today's plan with me is going to be more of a check-in. I am going to set up some spreads, but it's going to be very minimal because I'm not really sure what the best way is for me to use my bullet journal when I'm so busy. So we're going to figure it out together. If you remember last time, I talked a bit about how my initial happiness project plan kind of fell off throughout the year. Like, it didn't really apply as much anymore as things changed. So I recalibrated a lot of my goals for the second half of this year, and I added an additional spread that broke those goals down into small daily tasks. So the first thing I'm going to do is show my overall happiness project progress. June is just going to be kind of empty. I didn't do any art because I kind of decided to step away from art and I didn't come up with a new focus. And the actual goals for June, which was themed around giving, giving back to other people, giving to charity, giving to myself. And I actually did complete a lot of these goals. My dad's birthday is in June. I also went to a wedding and I made a pretty big purchase for my own happiness, and that was the purchase of a security system for my house. We were getting some weird stuff happening at night, and so we got that for some peace of mind, and it really was a nice gift to myself. So I'm just going to fill in what I did for each of these goals and then do a little bit of journaling for the after and changes columns. And I didn't get all of my goals done during this month because we were kind of beset by home expenses out of nowhere. They're quite expensive things such as a fence, water heater, some tree maintenance. And so the emergency fund plan and the charity plan are both going to have to wait until things are a little bit more stable. And I do already have a small emergency fund, so I'm not in a dire situation just yet. And the next thing to do is set up July's happiness project page. And I'm actually really excited about the goals for July because July is all about learning. There's a lot of different pieces to what I hope to accomplish in July. The two top ones there are courses. I want to finish 2 full courses to learn something. The first place I'm going to check is Skillshare. I do have a course up on Skillshare that I'll link below, but I've had pretty good results from Skillshare. There's a lot of very knowledgeable people on there. Things I want to learn I've already picked out. I want to learn React.js and GraphQL. So Skillshare tends towards more the artistic and the crafty, but I'll see if I can find something that fits on there. If not, I'll branch out to the rest of the internet. Along the side, I also want to learn a language every day and also just write down what it is that I learned each day. And then this is kind of an interesting piece. It's the experiments section. I get a lot of cool ideas that I want to try out, and this is going to be the month where instead of waiting or trying to plan them out first, I just indulge in doing little experiments for projects that I'm interested in. I might cut out the 5th one. I might not get to one every single week of July, but we'll see how it goes. I'm just gonna fill in my little bit of before the month journaling here. It's pretty much just says what I already said, that I'm excited and I know that I want to learn React.js and GraphQL. If you've never heard of these things, that's totally fine. React.js is a front-end web development framework, so it makes the visual part of the websites, and then GraphQL is something that you use in the backend. Specifically, it's used to get information from like a server or a database into the front end. I've done a bit of web development. My Skillshare class is about doing it with Django web framework. But I'd like to branch out. React.js is not something I've ever used before, and I'm really excited to try it out. Now we're getting into what I am most excited about, which is this little spread that I created to kind of break down all of my goals into very small pieces. There's something about having a specific daily checklist that makes things feel so much more attainable. If you've been keeping up on my Instagram, which I admit has been somewhat dormant lately, you'll know that I did not accomplish much this past month. But that doesn't make this spread a failure, and I'll talk about why in a second. But first, as I was looking at this, I noticed that it's actually wrong. I did complete one of these tasks. I got my CI/CD setup configured for an app I'm working on. That just means continuous integration, continuous deployment. It wasn't fully set up the way I initially planned it, but I did get everything done that I needed to get done. But overall, this spread was really useful because I set it up in such a way that I can track percentages of completion. So it looks like I didn't accomplish anything, but if I look to this right side, I can actually see the percentage that I got done. This is useful for just not feeling bad, but it's also useful for planning for the next month because now I can kind of see how close I got to these goals, and a lot of them were time-based goals, so it's really a good measure of how much time I can contribute to each of these projects. So I'm really pleased with this spread, and I also just like the colors. I've color coded everything. I've broken it all down. I have very, very clear things that I need to do every day, and I think it worked pretty well. So my next spread for July is going to look very similar, but I did go through and I thought about these goals again. I changed some numbers around. I noticed that when I initially took the value for my net worth, I did it before I had paid bills, and so it was higher than it should have been. Now, I could just go back and take the measurement every month before I pay bills, but I don't think it's really honest. So I've changed the net worth goals a little bit. I've also changed the weight goals a little bit. And then, of course, I've lowered the hourly goals for how much work I want to get done on each of these projects. And in the future, I would like to change these hourly goals so they're more focused on getting tasks done, but I still don't have a full set of tasks laid out for these projects. So I have a lot of planning to do in the month of July that will help me make that step next month. I also have an issue that I haven't dealt with yet where if I have 4 rows on this page, I can only fit 4 weeks. Many months have more than 4 weeks, even if it's just a partial week. So what I did for this month was, since I didn't start planning until the 4th of July, I just put the last 3 days on that first week and then started on 4 after that. So I am missing a couple of days. It's not 100% accurate, but what I may need to do is scoot 1 row over to the left there and just not have much space for journaling, which is what that lower space was initially meant for, but since I didn't get anything done last month, I just didn't write anything down there. So we'll have to think about it, but for July I have this kind of hacky solution, and then I'll come up with something more elegant next month. So my amended goals for July are to get my net worth above negative 13 grand. It's currently negative 13.8. Body weight under 161 pounds, which is a challenging but reasonable goal given my current weight. I'm gonna participate kind of in Camp NaNoWriMo. My goal is just to do writing for 560 minutes, which is roughly 20 minutes a day if you start on the 4th like I did. And then my hourly goals, 24 hours each for my mobile app I'm working on and my game project. And I also want to do some UI design for the mobile app, and so that's going to be included in that hourly goal rather than separate like it was last month. And then I added in a goal here at the end that I wanted to increase the test coverage on my mobile app. And just like last month, I took each of these goals and I sat down and I thought about what I could do on a daily basis or like a couple times a week to get closer to each of these goals. And so what I ended up with was to do the Couch to 80K writing course or a 15-minute free write every day. That really should be 20, but I guess I was counting time to get going and time to like wrap it up. 6 hours of work on my mobile app per week, walking 20 minutes a day with an optional strength exercise for 10 minutes, drinking 80 ounces of water and eating 2 servings of vegetables every day. I added 15 minutes of meditation in here, which is new, just because that can help with a lot of things, but it can also help with weight loss, just having less stress, and it can help with getting things done because you don't feel quite as overwhelmed. Um, Keeping my average daily expenses underneath $85. I've lowered this a little bit from last month because of the additional expenses that we're facing. 10 minutes of social connection. This one isn't really attached to one of the big goals, it's just a small goal I have to kind of reconnect with you guys and with Instagram and with people in general. And finally, 6 hours of game development work every week. So, with the help of this spread, I'm just going to take things one day at a time and see how much closer I can get to my goals by the end of this month. Now, moving on to my monthly daily bullet journal that I keep in this Taroko Designs Breeze notebook. I'm going to flip through June. Just know that I fell off my bullet journal pretty badly. I did get a lot of these tasks done, but they were kind of things that I either had to do or had already scheduled, so it's not the most impressive that I got them done. I guess it was about the 20th that I stopped writing in here, so it was about the time I was starting to prepare for my trip, which makes sense. It's a lot to keep up with, especially since I still haven't found a good time in my day for like dedicated journaling time. And my weeks, I kept leaving these huge spaces in them, thinking I would go back and fill them in later, and then I just never did. So, my first goal for July is to stop doing that. Put my next day after the previous day, regardless of how many days were skipped in between, because it does feel really wasteful to have all this empty space that is just never going to be used for anything. So, this page here is where I am now, and I'm going to leave the next page for the weekend that I'm heading into, and I'm going to start setting up right here. And one thing I missed about my bullet journal a little bit was the color and the decoration. So at least for these 2 monthly pages, I'm gonna bust out the watercolors. I'm gonna paint down some nice colorful headers. It's not gonna be very involved, but I think that little pop of color is gonna be just nice to look at, especially on pages that are really quite simple like these. This first page is gonna be where I would usually put my monthly goals, but I realized that since I've broken out my goals into that other notebook for the entire month, putting them here again is kind of redundant. So what I'm actually just gonna do is write down intentions just as reminders of what I want to do, like why I'm doing all of this. And like I said, I'm just gonna put down a little watercolor header and then I'm gonna write the titles on top. I'm also going to use some of this nice metallic watercolor because I like it. I don't have any other reason than that. And below my intentions is going to be a list of monthly tasks. These are not really goals, they're not really tied to goals, they're just things that need to get done. And a lot of these are like housework, yard work. I think 2 are kind of like more creative tasks that I'd like to get done, but really this is a summer of home maintenance. I'm not super jazzed about it because home maintenance is pretty expensive and it's not usually very fun, but I think it will be nice to get this all taken care of and then we won't have to worry about it. So A big priority is going to be getting all of that taken care of, if not completed this month, then at least scheduled so we know when it's going to happen. And then I'll be able to refocus on some more personal projects. And then my intentions for the month of July are going to be nourish my body. This is part of my weight loss effort and my effort to drink more water and eat more vegetables. Walk Crowley more. Crowley's my pup, and he really needs to get outside more. He's a big dog and he needs more exercise than he's getting. Reconnect on social. I talked about that a little bit already. Focus on development, and this can both be taken literally about like software development or just development of myself. And then finally, learn and grow. So this is tied into my happiness project goals. And the next page is just going to be a success log. Whenever I do something memorable that kind of ties into these intentions or complete one of my monthly goals, I'm going to write it in here and I'm going to make it all pretty. And it's just going to be a log of what I got done this month. I think celebrating success is really important, especially when you're dealing with goals that are more long-term, projects that take months or even years to complete. It's really important for your mental state, for morale, to keep track of what you've done, because sometimes, like we've been working on our game for over 5 years now, and it feels at times like it's never going to be done, like we're going to be doing this for the rest of our lives. But looking back at what we've accomplished and the things that we've learned through this project, it makes you feel a lot better about how long it's taking, because these things are significant. And these are the only 2 pages going into my monthly daily bullet journal. For my actual dailies, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing and just writing in a header for the day and doing tasks whenever I have the time to do it. This is really the spirit of bullet journaling, is to do this kind of minimal, whatever works best for you kind of thing. I do miss the more intricate decorative spreads a little bit, but this is what I can do, so it's what I'm gonna do. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm sorry that it has been so long between videos. There's really not much to be done about it. Other things in my life have just taken priority, and I'm constantly trying to sort out what I can change, and if there is something I can change, whether I want to change it. I think the moral of the story here is that adulting is hard. It's hard to be an adult, and it's also hard to own a house and just kind of keep everything in your life going all the time. It's a lot of work, and if you're out there doing it and you're struggling, it's okay. You're doing the best you can, and that's all you can do. So thanks again. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. I'll be back soon with another video. Maybe not soon, maybe in a month, but whenever it is, I hope to see you there, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye!